Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Jason. I'm not sure exactly when this video is going to air, but I'm suspect that I might put it on Thanksgiving. I will be spending Thanksgiving with my family, both from the Cleveland area and Southern Ohio, so I'm super excited about it. So if this is aired on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thanks again for joining me. Today it's just a quick video on some of the things that I found over the last month to month and a half. With the exception of these three bracelets, I wanted to do videos on good, better, and best in all different categories, from fine art to jewelry, sculpture, pottery, antique dolls. I'm starting with jewelry eventually, so I'd consider this a good bracelet. It's Mexican silver. It's early, right around 1940 on that one. And then the better one would be this one. This one's slightly earlier. And on the inside of the bracelet, if I can get the camera to focus, silver and Mexico, a very early hallmark and a very early design, completely hand-constructed, hand-chased design, and then applied silver drops over the surface. Beautiful oxidation and beautiful patina. So that's a perfect example of a better bracelet, a better cuff. And then we have the best. So we have the good, the better, and then the best. The only reason why I say the best on this one is because of it's a known maker. It is early William Spratling, and when I say early, I mean very early. I believe the hallmark in this, and I'll check the dates on it eventually, but I believe that it to be one of his earliest marks. I think it's late 30s, early 40s. Again, we can consult our books, and it's a conjoined WS mark right there, then the Tosco mark right there, and then the 980 mark right there. So 980 silver. The only reason why I was able to get this bracelet for such a moderate price when I did was the person wasn't familiar with the hallmark and it was very worn away. You can see that this is completely hand forged. So the silver is basically hand forged and then chased from the front to put in detail, and then these applied droplets again that were flattened out with a hammer, and a beautiful cuff. So we have the good, the better, and then the best. That's for future videos. So just so you know where I'm headed eventually with good, better, and best. I'm going to try and help you out for what to look for and how to be smart when you're at the thrift stores. An interesting ring that just came in, sterling silver, beautiful lithograph on paper underneath acrylic. It's not glass, but it is acrylic. And then a little tiny rhinestone tear, but it reminded me of the man or the woman in the moon. And beautifully constructed, sterling, artisan signed, adjustable so it would fit anyone. I just thought it was very directional and very beautiful, very sparse, but very successful. And I loved it, very whimsical. Onto a Vendome set. I don't usually seek out rhinestones that much anymore. It's not really my jam. But when I find sets and interesting construction and very complex or strong coloration, I will go after it. So this was one of my exceptions. I found this about 2 weeks ago. And it was at a thrift store that I hadn't went to in a long time because I wasn't having success there. And something just told me to park the car and go in. I'm glad I did. And there's the Vendome mark right there. So Vendome, V-E-N-D-O-M-E. And then you have the matching earrings as well, which are right here. Clip backs, beautiful construction. And again, signed on the earring backs, Vendome right there. So look for Vendome, but look for very complex construction. Again, a telltale sign of quality with rhinestone and costume jewelry, all prong set stones. So there's prongs around all of these stones, very securely set and very beautiful in its presentation. Another brooch that I got very lucky with was at an area flea market. This was it was out on a table when I walked up, and I instantly knew it was quality. Again, I judge my pieces by design. So you have this very dimensional and almost folded over metal. So you look at the metal construction and you say, that's got to be important. Then you look at the way the stones are set, not just haphazardly glued in. Each one is what we called bead set. So we call that a bead setting, meaning there's a little piece of metal that's hit with a hammer to fold over a little dot of metal to hold these stones in. Beautifully rhodium plated, so it is pot metal, not sterling. And then the mark, which unfortunately I may not be able to pick up on camera. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to be patient here just for a second. Let's see. And while I'm trying to find it, I want to thank everyone for joining me, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Let's see here. I'm trying to find it. It's really small. Let me back it out for 1 second and take a quick peek and see where this is at. Okay, I found it. So again, be very careful when you're looking for marks. Look how lightly marked that is. So what you're looking at is a falcon head over the MB hallmark. So this is I believe it to be the earliest hallmark for Marcel Boucher. So this is a Boucher piece, one of his earliest ones. And again, why it's important is its overall presentation, its overall size, the condition, and the fact that it bears the early hallmark. So for the, let's say, $12 that I paid for it, it's probably worth around $600 to $700. So be careful with rhinestone and costume. Another one that's unsigned is this one. And again, I can start to get into some of the attributions that we have for some of these pieces. So again, we consider these headlight rhinestones or Rivoli, whatever you prefer to call them. We can accept both terms. No one needs to fight over that. And there's no fighting in jewelry anyway, right? It's supposed to be fun. So we have an oxidized metal, or jappened, J-A-P-P-E-N-E-D, and that is an oxidation or a surface that is applied to the metal to make it black, and then these beautiful headlight stones. And what was great about this is it is vintage, it is old, so right around maybe as early as 1950, 1960, and maybe into the 1970s. I wouldn't argue with that either. And then the matching clip earrings. So we have the earrings, and again, not signed. If I had to attribute this, which I don't feel comfortable doing because there's many makers that produced this, I would go with Weiss. I would say this is very Weiss in construction and finish. And sometimes with Weiss sets, and I've said this before, the brooch will be signed, or the earrings will be signed, or the necklace will be signed. And with that, sometimes you'll get into things that don't have, if the set's broken up, you'll get into things that won't be signed. This is a sterling silver William Kerr & Company Art Nouveau brooch. This came into me approximately a week and 2 days ago. And let's see here, it was a scrap dealer who called me and wanted me to save this from the scrap pile. Very much so a fugitive hallmark, or very faintly marked, is right there. I wish I could get a little closer, but that's the banded axe mark, and that's for William Kerr, K-E-R-R, William Kerr & Company. The sterling mark, and then this number right here, the 1588, that's just the model number or the maker. So they knew in the catalog that this is the brooch, the way it would look. Originally, back when this started life as a belt buckle, so these two sides would have been a belt buckle. The buckle on this side where it attached the fabric was removed, and then the brooch was soldered together. The holes right here, someone always asks me, what are these holes for? As a silversmith, I can tell you, if you soldered this closed with no air holes, the piece would explode, or had a very good chance to explode. Pinback was done right around 1935 or maybe 1940. And then, again, sterling and just beautifully done, an Art Nouveau original, but slightly altered. and much more wearable by today's standards. If it was a belt buckle, maybe 125 to 165. As a brooch and much more wearable, 185 to 265. So, and would sell for that. The oxidation on the surface, now you can kind of see why I don't polish my silver. Beautiful that it's settled into the recesses and then has accentuated that beautiful curvilinear design. A fantastic piece. Another one that I was surprised by, this was in a junk bin, just a random haphazard bin that had been misplaced at a store, and the gentleman had rescued it, and then I rescued it from him. It is Santo Domingo. It is just a beautiful thing. The original price tag on the inside was $160, and I think the person thought that the one was actually just a dollar sign, so it was $60, and I didn't purchase it for much over, I think it was $25 or $35. I forget what I paid for it because I bought it in kind of a grouping, which I'll do from time to time. Beautiful shell beads that are hand rolled out. Fantastic turquoise bead discs that are spaced in throughout. And then the shell is inlaid with the early epoxy turquoise, and a remarkable and beautiful piece. Has a very large presence, even though it's smaller in scale than some that I've seen. And then sterling silver beads at the end and a sterling silver hook clasp. So a beautiful piece that I was happy to rescue. One that I wasn't sure on stone to begin with until I brought it home, but it for sure is. This is dinosaur bone that's been fossilized. It is in fact the cut across, or the cross section of fossilized dinosaur bone. So I guess you could say the bone marrow. Beautiful red mottled surface, incredible color and depth, very magical. And then an artist so carefully produced this beautiful tubular chain where wire was cut, jump rings were soldered on, and then in between the jump rings were soldered together. So just look for those details. Look for the fact that you see the solder seam right there. Look for chains that are soldered together. A very telltale sign of quality. And just, you know, when you touch these things, you can feel that they're just really well put together. It is marked sterling on the back here, but wasn't marked sterling on the chain. And but the chain is sterling. And then a custom-made fancy gallery bezel wire stone setting by an artisan much like myself. But not signed by the artist, but just a fantastic thing. And I was so happy when I found it. An interesting piece that I'm still doing a little bit of research on is this. These are gem grade moonstone, or I should say higher grade moonstone. They are all genuine, and when I bought this, I was suspect that it could be 14 karat gold. Why would you set these beautiful stones in a necklace in sterling or plated metal? Sad reality is, the metal has not tested to be gold. So I'm doing a little bit more research on it before I decide to do anything with it. But you can see that each stone is slightly different in its depth or dome, where the cabochon is cut and polished. So you can see that some are much taller than others. So when you're looking at things, touch them, turn them, look closely. Take your time. Look for things that appear to be hand done and then really examine them. So that necklace probably has about, I'm going to guess, because I haven't counted it yet, I'm going to guess around 200 to maybe 250 carats of genuine moonstone, and beautifully executed in their mountings. And each mounting is completely hand constructed. So again, look for hand construction. And these stones, look at the glow, look at the light, the push and pull of it. I could, every single stone I love on this necklace. So beautiful. And again, it was only $30. So I couldn't buy that many moonstones in that quality for $30, let alone make handmade mountings, solder it together, and finish it as a necklace. Just incredible. A interesting piece. I will always step outside of jewelry when I feel like I want to, or I know that it's right. This is a beautiful sterling finger compact. It would go on as a ring, so you would put it on your finger, and then you would have it with you your entire night back in the 1920s, 1930s. Could be a little bit older than the 20s, but I wouldn't get too carried away. And then you slip it off. It is all sterling. Open it up, and just an awesome thing. So there's a mirror inside, the powder puff, and there's powder underneath that I still need to kind of clean out. Monogram right here doesn't ever bother me. It might bother other people, but it just adds to the authenticity of the piece and the most adorable little tassel. I would struggle to make that and to make it articulate and be a mesh, just remarkable. It is signed sterling on the inside of the compact, but I don't want to take that apart because I'll have dust all over everything. And then a early Mexican amethyst and sterling bracelet. Again, I'm kind of a sucker for design and also gemstone. So both have to be considered when I purchase. An early or more primitive fold-over clasp, which helps date the piece, completely hand fabricated through and through. So every mounting and every bezel, completely hand constructed. So again, great presence, great design. And when you're looking at Mexican silver, look for the early marks like this, Mexico and silver. Look at the solder seams. You can tell that this is completely hand constructed. And the oxidation again on the surface or the patination, it is so authentic to the piece, and I really think that it helps pull these details out. These punch designs, the applied raindrops or the applied spheres that frame the amethyst cabochons, just a remarkable piece that made me very happy. Then I show this because I'm still doing some research. She's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I have to do a little bit of research on two things on this, but there is the gold hallmark right there. So I believe that it's marked 10 or 14 karat. I think that's 10. Then you have this classic fold down bail. So this bail and this mechanism dates this, I'm going to be careful here, but it dates it to around 1910 or 1915, again from my memory. I can look this up and tell you about these two mechanisms for sure at a later time, and I never want to give fake or false information because that's not fair. You're here to learn. And then the cameo is not shell like most, it is in fact hard stone. So it's 2 layers of stone that were always together. This was not laminated together. This is just the stone. So there's this stone that goes all the way up, and it grew in layers as banded agate or hard stone, and then she was carved from that. There looks to be a fracture here, but there's not. That is actually in the stone. That is actually a growth fissure or growth line in the stone, and isn't a crack. It doesn't go all the way through, and it just runs right there, right across the top. Most cameos that are shell do exhibit some hairlines over time. So that's something that we kind of have to be kind with and expect with shell cameos. Hard stone cameos in general are much finer like this, and also much more valuable. So I won't get into the value right now because I'm going to do a cameo video, but this is just one that came in within the last, I believe this was about 3 weeks ago on that one. And other things that I'll pick up from time to time, this paperweight, classic example, is $4.99. It's absolutely beautiful. It's extremely well done. Again, from the late 50s, maybe into the 60s. And again, I'm not going to fight. Someone might say, well, that's 1940s. That's okay. I can live with that as well. Beautifully executed, controlled bubbles inside of the glass. Very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. And you had to be an advanced glass artist to create this. And then these encased colors at the bottom. Beautifully executed, and what a wonderful, wonderful design in really perfect condition for a whopping $4.99. And of course, that would be between $65, $75, and maybe retail. I could probably try and get $85. But I'm not aggressive on pricing once I buy something for sale. In that glass area, I bought this. I don't normally buy contemporary or very new, and this is made within the last maybe, 8 to 10 or 12 years, and it's dichroic glass. But again, I fell in love with it, the coloration, the composition, the balance, and just, the way it is, just a fantastic, fantastic pendant. Large in size, great finish. Someone had, again, a great sense of craft to put that together. And again, it was only like $4 or $5. And I felt as though I knew I could get at least 40 or 50, and maybe to the right person, even 60. I don't push on things like this, but I do find the right home for it. I let someone enjoy it, and I make a little money along the way to then buy other things. This one is an interesting brooch, and again, I don't know enough right now. Let me wipe this off. I don't know enough right now. I'm not sure on artist, but I'm working on it. So gem grade amethyst, a asymmetrical trillion cut. So they must have found a stone that had some sort of problem, or a crystal, I should say, that had some sort of issue. So they made the stone this shape. And then an artist so carefully and lovingly created this mounting. It is signed down here. I'm working on that. It's signed sterling and then an artist's name. Back in the day when it was retailed, it was $125. And it's a mixture of both brass and sterling silver. Beautifully executed, like I said, and a stunning thing. And it was one of those things I walked up and knew I had to have it, and I'm so glad that I bought it. And again, I believe that I got it for $30 or $35. So I can't even get the stone for that price. I can't. And then as a silversmith, I know what it would take to create this. So I cherish the work that it took to get that together. And then let's see, just a couple more things. I'm not going to go too crazy. This one came in about 3.5 weeks ago. No, about a month, about 4 weeks ago, about a month. I was out at the flea market, and everyone knows me at all the flea markets that I go to. I try and blend in all the time, but it doesn't work. I'd have to rearrange my DNA. It's a good thing to stand out. It wasn't in high school, but it is now in life. And I love the person that I've blossomed into for sure. I love my life. These are love tokens that were, again, hand engraved. These are about 18, some of these were, I'm going to give a range here, about 1865, 1875. And then on the front of this, the, let's see here if I can pull this up for you, the coins. So 1876, 1884, one was earlier. Let me see where the 1851, I think there was an 1851 on here. And just beautifully drilled through and then soldered. And this is the original bracelet that it was on. So it's this kind of buckle style bracelet that kind of lets off like that, or comes undone to get it on. And then this little kind of belt strap would go over if you had to put it on a smaller size. But again, all original. And I have a lot of these. I probably have now, I haven't seen them for a long time, but I probably have around 30 or 40 of them that were complete. And then I have a lot of these that were separate. The ones that you want to look for are ones that don't necessarily have the monogram or initials. The ones you want to look for in terms of love tokens are the ones that are a scene, whether it be a building, a landscape. I have had ones that had figural items, which are very difficult to find, and anything interesting. And it's beautiful because you can see the different fonts that were used. But these were just love tokens that were, presented to someone to show their affection for somebody else. Again, if someone polished this, I guess I would be okay with it, but it would demean and ruin the authenticity of the piece. That's all. So, love it. It's fantastic. And before I run out of steam here, I want to talk about this one. I picked this up from an area store, and the person is very well versed in jewelry. And I walked into the store, and this was in a little box of small pins, and it was $4. So, of course, as a metalsmith and someone familiar with enamel, I knew and felt as though that this was gold. I just felt it. And sometimes your intuition is correct. This is not signed gold. There is no signature for gold. Again, we have the fold up bail at the top with a gold jump ring. And then we have a simple rollover clasp. And again, I'll get into dating things by their clasp at another video. This is just kind of, I don't want to say a haul video, but what I have found over the last, month and a half, almost 2 months. And this is so carefully painted, fired on glass enamel and genuine seed pearls. So a beautiful brooch and pendant, beautiful condition. I was astounded that I could have found this for $4. And again, truly just delighted. So that's probably going to stay with me for quite a while. I got to admit that. One that was by a friend who had kind of sent me some messages and said they had some things. So this is 14 karat gold and 10.99. I think that's the gram weight, and 7 penny weight, I believe. That's the breakdown. I'm not good at math when it comes to all that. $445 for this. And I got it for $375, I believe. I bought it based on design. I loved the design. I also feel that gold is a great store of wealth. And I just fell in love with the whole thing. I felt as though it was around 1920, maybe 1930. And someone might say you're wrong, it's 1940. Well, guess what? You're wrong. It's 20s, 30s. And the reason for that is I asked him if it was signed, and he said no. And he's very well versed in this. By the way, you can see that it's completely hand fabricated. So this is not cast. This outside piece is cast. The inside bonsai tree is completely hand fabricated. So we've got wire that are soldered together. The flowers are hand fabricated and soldered to the wire. And then you've got this beautiful kind of, I believe that would be considered a trapezoid. I sure hope I'm right. I don't know exactly. And then these rose-colored gold flowers, which are apparently roses. When you look at the pin stem, let me tip it and see if I can get this. I'm going to do my best. Bear with me for a second. Right there. You see it says, I can't flip it the other way. I'm sorry, guys. Well, I regret that I can't flip it. 14K right there. And then this little mark right there next to it looks like 2 C's or 2 J's back to back. That's the early mark for Kremens. So it's American made by the Kremens Company. And Kremens is mostly known for gold filled. Well, their earlier works, like I said, from this specific pin around 1920, would have been made in 14 karat gold. So a beautiful, beautiful brooch. I'm so glad that I took the chance to rescue it, because I bought it based on design. I didn't buy it based on the fact that I knew it was Kremens, and I'm so thrilled that I took the chance to buy it. Let's see, one more thing, and then I am going, nope, I totally lied. 2 more things. This brooch, oh boy, 3 weeks ago, bought it at an area shop for $30 just as a beautiful, beautiful rhinestone brooch. And immediately someone is going to say, oh Lord, he has a Shriner brooch and he doesn't know it. Well, actually, I would know unsigned Shriner, which I'm going to help educate you on. I'm going to get you there to that point. This is not unsigned Shriner. This is signed right on the inside, made in Austria. So it's an Austrian brooch. Open back set, much like what Shriner would have done, Shriner of New York, and invert set stones. So the stones are set with the points up rather than the points down. Gave much more life and sparkle to the brooch. I'm not taking anything away from this that it's not unsigned Shriner, but in fact it is an Austrian creation from around the 1950s, 1960s, and circa dating, you know, we have to be careful, but that's as close as we're going to get. On this one, I would say the value as an Austrian brooch would be around $85 to maybe $100 on a retail level. If it was unsigned Shriner and this size and this color, you could be into $800, $1,000, or $1,200. And I've sold many Shriners in that price point. So it's just beautiful, and I'm not quite sure why a name changes the price so much when the end result is just absolutely beautiful. And the final one that I'm still trying to work on, and I'm still trying to figure this out, I labeled the hallmark, and it looks like that. It's a contemporary designer, I know that much. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gemstone. Again, some of the testing has come back inconclusive, so I'm not going to make any comment on the stone as of right now. And then these beautiful diamonds that are mil-grain set, and then mil-grain mounting, so tiny little mil-grain, beautifully executed, fantastic stones. And then the hallmark is on the inside right there. And it's also marked 14 karat on the other side. And I may have reversed that in the video, but that's okay. But again, a remarkable piece, and I'm not going to do anything with it just yet because that hallmark could potentially escalate the price point much, much higher. That concludes my video for today. I hope if I did air this on Thanksgiving that you have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Thank you so much again for all of your time. And you know it, I love you.